So let's move into the first presentation of the day, and I want to welcome Steve Estoia to the rostrum, who serves as the director of the USDA California Climate Hub, and importantly, in this context, the co-chair of our science advisory panel with Dr. John Battles. I want to just say, first of all, just a huge thanks to you and John for your leadership and the entire panel. We talk a lot about science informing our decision making, and sometimes it can feel like a talking point. But more than ever, we need science to point the way forward on the challenges we face. And I'll say this scientific advisory panel is truly an exemplar of action-based science and roll up your sleeves science to inform the decision makers. And I'm really, really proud of the work that you all have done to guide us over the last 5 years, and the fact that this action plan is, has this foundation of science before it. So kudos to Patrick for suggesting that we kick off our update or our proposed update of the draft plan with this scientific synthesis report. So over to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary Crowfoot. And Regional Secretary Forrester, you can too. It's nice to see you today, and Patrick. Certainly the theme here of the Science Advisory Panel, I'll be giving updates. It's kind of an awkward place to stand looking both ways, is we. I've heard that word more times than any other term today, and the Science Advisory Panel is very much a we exercise, and I'm simply just a spokesperson, but happy to do that today. So the Science Advisory Panel exists because the task force recognized that a new model was necessary to engage science and scientists as a bridge between the knowledge, the generative output, and the decision making. And this is important because the California Wildfire Challenge requires actionable and unbiased science that is in-spirit decision enabling. And this allows for the outputs and the input that we provide to maximize that return on investment of all of the things that were talked about so far this morning, the community protection and the landscape resilience efforts. So that we know when we apply photographs on the lower portion of this slide to avert images like we've seen across our communities on the upper photograph of the slide. So the Science Advisory Panel, and you can see the names on the slide in front of you. I'm not going to read the names. This is an all-star cast. This is a PBS all-star cast in California. We're really lucky to have them. It's humbling to be a part of this composition, certainly. And the key to this, if there's one term that describes this composition, it's diversity. So it was really important when we were charged with assembling the Science Advisory Panel that we amassed a group of experts to have coverage of all of the range of topics and issues across California's communities and landscapes. We wanted to ensure that we had the proper diversity and affiliation. So you'll see federal, state, as well as numerous academic scientists as a part of this group, as well as those that are involved more in the extension of that knowledge in our cooperative extension experts. And we also, very importantly, have individuals on this composition that are very junior in their career, as well as those of us that are not as junior in their career. So we have a lot of diversity here. And John and I really just function as this independent or unbiased set of referees, because we want to ensure that the priorities that are put forth by the task force will ultimately and truly support the management strategies and approaches. Because in the end, as you've heard, the intent is truly to increase the resilience and the protection of our communities across California. So carrying on the theme that better decisions can come through independent science, I'd like to just share with you a little bit about what the Science Advisory Panel has been doing over the years. And we've assembled this graphic to communicate that. And a lot of our work can come into one of these four bins. We have provided timely and independent reviews, sometimes very short notice reviews. We've dealt with very critical and emerging issues. at the request of task force leadership. We've developed applied research briefs, and other types of assessments, and provided science application and delivery support for the task force and partner well. So I'd like to just give a little finer point to some of the work that we've been doing over the years and how this operational science support system has, I believe, and I know John agrees, added value for the task force. And we've been very honored to be a part of this. We have provided an assessment to prioritize forest health investments. A lot of what you've heard about here, this occurred some 5 years ago. We have provided a very recent expert consultation of shrubland treatment effects at the request of task force leadership and the Board of Forestry. That was a very short turnaround ask. We developed the regional profiles, the Science Advisory Panel did. Again, that term we have engaged in the California landscape metrics and have been part of the process of the outcome-based metrics conversation. And of course, a main reason I'm here today is to also announce the release of the 2026 Science Synthesis. So the Science Synthesis, there is the cover page there on the screen. The title is A Science-Based Synthesis to Safeguard People, Communities, and Ecosystems from Wildfire in California. So it is all of those topics together in one unified document. The purpose here is to provide a science-based foundation for planning and investment decisions that reduce wildfire risk and improve resilience for California's communities and ecosystems. So we tackled this request by developing thematically related key messages. They're up on the screen. You can see there are 7 of them. I will note that that each key message is led by a Science Advisory Panel member who had the latitude to amass the composition of experts, even outside of the Science Advisory Panel, to contribute to these topics. And for the remainder of my talk, I'd like to highlight elements from key messages 3, 4, 5, and 6, just in the interest of time. So key message 3, this is protecting communities from wildfire through land use planning and design. This was led by Dr. Emily Schlickman and co-authors. Dr. Schlickman is a professor at UC Davis. And this is a figure that you will find in that key message. And it communicates how building and retrofitting can be such a value add and the means to do that to realize fire resilient communities as being a really effective way to reduce those losses. And this is just one of several figures in that key message section that compares and contrasts what factors lead to a vulnerable property and also a community, as well as those that are fire resilient. It's a really useful, digestible, easy to understand figure with associated text that is, again, decision enabling, that takes the jargon out of this report. The next key message I'd like to highlight was developed by Nicole Molinari from the USDA Forest Service down in the Los Padres region. The wildfire impacts to ecosystems and the services and values they provide. This is another very useful graphic where they compared and contrasted California forested ecosystems with our shrubland ecosystems to consider their attributes and characteristics so that we can appreciate, and they wanted to communicate the importance that wildfire resilience requires tailored management specific to those contexts and the outcomes that will yield from those when those are followed is all available in this key message. This is another very useful and digestible graphic that's in that key message. The 5th key message was led by Dr. Scott Stevens, professor at University of California, Berkeley, and co-authors. You can see the names there on the screen. and titled Applications and Approaches to Reduce Extreme Wildfire Risk and Impact to Ecosystems. This is on the ecosystem side. These photographs are illustrative of the text, and it's been said here already by the executive committee that the combination of thinning and prescribed fire are proven tools for reducing wildfire severity across California, and they go into details as well about the need and the science backing behind increasing the pace and scale and the application of doing the treatments where they matter most, which we've heard about again here by our executive committee this morning. I want to also share that although I'm talking about forests for this key message, they also covered shrubland applications in this section of the report. And I'll end on this. This will be the last one that I'll highlight. So this was led by, again, Forest Service research scientist, Dr. Malcolm North. It covers post-fire recovery, reforestation, and management interventions. And you can see by the image that's on the screen, taking advantage of the post-fire landscape to think about this in a strategic, thoughtful way so that science-based reforestation is done in a way to recover ecosystem resilience while also reducing future wildfire risk. In this key message, I want to share too that, again, they also dealt with shrublands, and they also dealt with and they treated post-fire debris flows as well. So that's all a part of this one, and it is available for your application. So I want to share. I want to thank all of the authors. It was a tremendous lean-in spirit. I want to share too, and I think it's very important that of all of the science advisory panel members we asked to participate, this is voluntary. This is science. This is service. This is the service part of, for many of them, academics' job. This is not what they do on the regular. We only had one person decline our invitation. That is just how engaged the science community is in supporting this effort and supporting you all. And I'm really grateful for them to that. So there's the QR code, and I want to thank you for the time today. And yeah.
Well, huge. Yeah, and I just continue to be so impressed that you all approach this work in such a practical, communicatable way, and that it's such strong science, and at the same time, it's so usable, frankly. So no doubt has this informed both the draft action plan, but also all sorts of work that's happening across the state, and you're getting it out there, and no doubt other science will build on it. So just really, really exciting. I just want to turn to any executive committee members if they have any burning questions or thoughts. Supervisor.
Yeah, thank you, Wade. Just really quickly, just want to thank you, Steve. Thank you, John, for all your work and the team's work. Obviously, some heroes don't wear capes, they wear Hawaiian shirts. But I just wanted to really quickly, say, I think this is also important. All of you may not be surprised to hear this. You may be surprised to hear where it's coming from, but often I think politicians and politics can be the problem, right? Oftentimes we get in the way of good policy. And so it's so important that we have science to help keep us grounded as we move forward. So we're not making emotional-based decisions, that we are continuing to use best practices, and we continue to evolve those best practices so that way we can develop good policy. So again, thank you for all your work.
So I just want to say, of course, thank you for the work you're doing and representing, our part of this partnership. The words best science available really is significant for us. And I think all of us collectively, but for the USDA and the U.S. Forest Service, those words have great meaning. And so the recognition of we do have the best science available, we're using it. And as we talked, we're learning and growing. The recognition of one size doesn't fit all, right? There are vast differences from Southern California to Northern California. And so the recognition and the use of science to help us make sure we're doing the right thing in the right place is huge. And so just really a lot of gratitude for what you all are doing, and thank you for helping us be better.
Thanks so much, Steve.